All right, welcome to fractions level 6. Now in this very first one, we see x plus 3/5 equals 3. And so in this case, we're not multiplying x by a fraction, we're adding a fraction to x. Well, we want to think back to our solving. And the question we ask is, how do we get rid of addition? Well, of course, the opposite of addition is subtraction. So we're going to minus 3/5 on the left side to create our zero pair. Now remember, whatever we do to the left, we also have to do to the right. So I'll do minus 3/5. Now this gets tricky because what you need to do is get into the practice of doing your math off to the side. And so with fractions, I like to write them horizontally. So I'm going to come over to the side. I'm going to write 3 minus 3 over 5. And remember, this whole number we always wanted to change to be 3 over 1. Now remember, whenever we are adding or subtracting fractions, we need a common denominator. And so the question we have to ask is, can we multiply 1 by a number that gets us to 5? So we say, well, you know what? 1 times 5 is equal to 5. And if I multiply the bottom by 5, I have to multiply the top by 5. Okay, so we do top times top. 5 times 3 is 15. Bottom times bottom. 5 times 1 is 5 minus 3 over 5. And now, because I have a common denominator, I can actually subtract them. So what we get is our final answer is x is equal to, I subtract across the top, 15 minus 3 is 12. And remember, your denominators, when you're adding and subtracting, they stay the same. And there we've done it. Ta-da! All right, let's go ahead and look at our second example. Okay, for example 2, we have r minus 3 over 2 is equal to 8. Now, in this case, notice that instead of adding a fraction, we are subtracting a fraction. Well, you have to ask yourself, what is the opposite of subtracting a fraction? And the opposite of subtraction is, of course, addition. And so we are going to add 3 over 2 to both sides in order to keep it balanced. Remember, negative 3 over 2 and positive 3 over 2, that's what we call as a zero pair. It zeroes out. And we have to get in the habit of doing our fraction math off to the side and horizontally. So we have 8 plus 3 over 2. Now remember, the whole number 8 is really 8 over 1, and we can't add these because they don't have a common denominator. So just say it out loud. 1 times what number will get me to 2? Well, that would be 1 times 2. And if I multiply the bottom by 2, we'll have to multiply the top by 2. Okay, so we do top times top. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 2, bottom times bottom, 2 times 1, bottom times bottom is 2, plus 3 over 2. We now have a common denominator, and so we can add what's on the top. 16 plus 3 is 19 over 2. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at one more example. Okay, for example 3, we see that our constant and our variable have switched places. So we have negative 3/5 plus q is equal to negative 6. Well, remember, just because our constant comes first, we're always asking the question, hey, what's happening between my fraction, my term, and my variable? Well, we see this plus sign in between them. That means that the negative 3/5 is under the rules of addition and subtraction. But ask yourself, is that 3/5, is it positive or is it negative? Well, it's negative. And so really and truly, the 3/5 is actually being subtracted, even though we don't think of it that way. But you can think negative 3/5. Well, y'all, what is the opposite of a negative 3/5? And that, of course, would be positive 3/5, or aka plus 3/5. Now notice we have our zero pair, and now we have q is equal to, and of course we get into the habit, we take our fraction math, we write it off to the side, negative 6 over 1 plus 3 over 5. This is called writing it horizontally. And 1 times what number gets me to 5? Well, of course, y'all, that's 1 times 5. And we multiply the bottom and the top by 5. Okay, so let's see what happens here. On top, we have 5 times negative 6, which is negative 30. On bottom, we have 5 times 1, which is 5, plus 3/5. And because they now have a common denominator, well, of course, we can add them. But notice on top, one number is negative. We have negative 30 plus 3. So remember, negatives and positives cancel each other out. And so these 3 positives are actually taking away from the number of negatives. And so we'll have negative 27 over 5. which cannot be reduced. All right, y'all, I hope these examples have helped, and I'll catch y'all in our next video.